Hello again. I'm back for this new moon in Capricorn that's about to be happening in a few days. And it's been a very chaotic time out there. This really is describing what is being indicated by the planets. Planets are really just a reflection of what's going on in real life for all of us. And I'm not here to say that the planets are doing anything to us, but I'm here to say that the planets are explaining the evolutionary path that we are on as we're going through what we're going through. So, yeah, there has been a lot to get through lately, a lot to digest. And a lot of people have their opinions about what is happening. And I'm just here to take a much higher perspective on it all by talking about um, the luminaries, the sun and the moon, and the relationship between these very important celestial beings that influence or rather reflect what we're going through. It's very, very, very interesting times right now. And I say it like that because there is a lot of indication of change, that we are ready for change and that we are going through change. And no change happens without removing the old. And this new moon in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, who is the Lord of Time, is really telling us what the story is that we're really going through, regardless of what your opinion is about what should be happening. This is what we're going through. So let me start sharing the chart. I have a little bit to say about it. All right. Let's just, here we go. All right. So we've got the new moon here in Capricorn happening at 28 degrees Capricorn on January 18th, 2026 in Pacific. That will be at 11:49 a.m. Um, yeah, this one is very has a very, very strong aspect to Uranus. Um, all of these planets right here are all together, and the moon had to go through Mars and Mercury to get into this position. And as the moon was doing that earlier earlier in the day, it will be doing that earlier in the day for that new moon. There are going to be feelings rising out of us that is going to make us think and feel like taking action. And see, this has already been happening because all the planets are already all in position. But when the moon comes through, it's always a trigger. The moon is always a trigger in astrology. Um, Not that the moon actually triggers anything, but it indicates that human beings are being triggered. And that's an understatement these days. I suppose um, as a matter of like historical artifact, like we say this because this is what we're going through. But to be going through it right now, it feels like a very, very much an understatement. Um, yeah. And so by the time this new moon is happening, we have Venus that has already entered Aquarius. And Venus is more or less the dispositor of Uranus here in Taurus. Um, and so there is indication that we're bringing in the future, that the, this new moon being ruled by Saturn, Saturn's in Pisces, and Neptune is right there next to Saturn. And it really talks about the, the pulling apart, the evaporation, the disillusion, the dissolving of the foundations that have been for many, many, many years. This time when Saturn goes into Aries, things are going to be different. The last time that happened was in the 90s. Yes, in the 90s. And um, so things are going to be feeling a little bit different than when it went into Aries in the 90s because Neptune is still going to be there influencing this dissolving process. But we can see here that the apex of this aspect, this little mini triangle here, we've got a trine and two sextiles that are pointing at Saturn. Also pointing at Neptune, but it is more exact to Saturn. And the moon moving in towards Saturn in this aspect indicates a higher awareness period of higher awareness of more higher than usual of an awareness of our foundations being dissolved. And like I said, all of this is sort of an understatement. It's like, well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. And I feel like a lot of this is just history in the making. A lot of what we're going through. And this new moon really indicates that with all of the personal planets close by, they're all in cahoots with this experience. And so all of us personally, individually, all of our little fractals of life that make up the whole, we're all going through something that is along the same theme, which is watching the old way dissolve in a way that we thought that would never happen. And for some of us personally, it's exhilarating. And for others of us, it is horrifying. And I believe that it is going to be a foolish feat to be attached to one side or the other. Because a lot of these issues are going to feel black and white. But we have this trine to Uranus. And Uranus is like, no, with the black and white shit. That everything is made up of gray. So many shades of gray, like you can't even imagine. And um that's how we're looking at our evolution right now. We're having a lot of our foundations being dissolved through the transit of Neptune and Saturn going through Pisces together, and they'll be reaching 0 point Aries together, which they've already done once, and we already had a taste of it. And so that'll be going that way for good. And we'll never ever see in our lifetimes, who everybody who's alive right now, no one will see Neptune going into Aries again like this. So it's a very momentous time. We can we'll be able to see such a dynamic shift for what as Neptune goes into Aries, and that will be happening at the end of this month. I think the 26th is when that happens. Another very interesting element to what is going on in our solar system lately is that we have that three-eye atlas that's been retrograding through the zodiac as it goes through our solar system. And it hasn't reached the sign of Cancer yet. It's still in the sign of Leo, which is really interesting considering that we have a visitor in our solar system from another, uh, you know, galaxy, from somewhere very, very far away, logically, linearly, quantumly is a whole different story because I believe it's here perfectly on time for the quantum shift. Um, and if you're paying attention to all of these little indicators, it's telling you what humanity is actually going through. And well, the boomers all have Pluto in Leo. And right now, with Three Eye Atlas going through Leo, um, it might be a little bit of it's indicating a shock to their foundation, to their systems, to their passions, and the power that they have enjoyed through actually several generations. They've held on to this like solar power because Leo is the in the archetype of the sun, and with Pluto there's the potential to have solar power. You either lack that solar power or you are have more of it as a boomer. And and it's really no wonder why the boomers have been so important through the years. Their culture, the culture that they created for the rest of the world. Um, there's a lot of foundational stuff there. And I suppose that maybe that's what is being indicated as being dissolved right now, is that a lot of the foundational stuff that the boomers um, set up unknowingly, they didn't know that the ages were going to be changing like this. They thought that it was like all fun and games in the 60s when they were like, yeah, free love, the age of Aquarius is coming. But they didn't take into account that their entire world would be dissolved before the end of their life. Because that's maybe the more serious aspect of what we're shifting into the age of Aquarius. And this new moon at the end of Capricorn is indicating that uh, structures, foundations, um, achievements, and our elders are all facing something new. It's like a new time for them. But I'm sure to somebody that age, it feels um like a tearing down, you know. I can't stop thinking about the fact that everything is dissolving, because it's almost like we expect to see more destruction when something's being torn down. But if it just neatly falls into its own footprint, then it's like it just dissolves and there's not a whole lot left after that. And I know that a lot of astrologers will talk about all of the hope, the freedom, the liberty of the age of Aquarius that's coming in, and being excited about Uranus moving into Gemini because it indicates the fourth turning, which is a lot to unpack also. Maybe I can do another video about that, but um, really, Uranus, if you understand what the archetype of Uranus is trying to help us express, it's that the old ways have to be dissolved, and that is, your Neptune here is definitely on board with that. So the idea that with Uranus, the progress involves cracking a few eggs, right? In order to make an omelet, you have to crack a few eggs. That is the ultimate truth that Uranus will reflect. And that's, it's heartbreaking in certain situations. It really is. But it is the truth also at the same time, which is why I believe that truly taking the perspective from a higher point, climb the mountain and look at the situation from the mountain. Go to the moon and look at the situation from the moon, right? When you take yourself out of the dirt, take yourself out of that ground game that other entities have that higher perspective over you when you're playing that ground game. It's essential to get higher ground at that point. And that's really an important part to take away from this Capricorn new moon. It's because Capricorn is the archetype of climbing the highest mountain and swimming the vastest ocean. There's no stopping Capricorn. And so, honestly, there should be no stopping you from being able to get that height or that space from a situation that will give you ultimate wisdom. It is hard work, though, getting off the ground. Very hard work getting off the ground. But we have, um, the personal planets all gathered right there. It's like they're there to help you get off the ground if you seek that help. They're there for that support, especially with Venus in Aquarius conjuncting Pluto, indicating, well, where is this age of Aquarius taking us? What kind of values are we going to be taking with us? Where are we going to be taking our power back? with these values. And Vesta right here, conjunct Pluto, is interesting because it indicates that us humans are creating a system that we're going to be loyal to. This power that we are seeking to return back into ourselves individually. I'm not talking about any kind of government or political system. I'm talking about individual power. And Vesta there indicates that there is some kind of loyalty or commitment, heart commitment that there's in that it involves. Yes, I feel that very, very strongly. And after the moon passes by this moment, the new moon, the moon will be going by Venus, Pluto, Vesta, very, very soon after. So this whole cluster of planets are all being visited by the moon, right around this new moon period. And like I said, the moon is a trigger. And if you're willing to train your awareness to come into your own individual power and stop giving it away, that is going to bring you through the future. It'll bring you through to the future. Because it may seem like we're living in the future now, and I've heard a lot of people say that saying 2026 sounds like we're living in the future. And yes, yes, but it's a feeling that's being reflected by the planets with all this uh, with this mini trine right here is very, very, very active right now. It keeps coming back. This mini trine keeps coming back. And there's another little one here over on this side that extends over to Black Moon Lilith at the end of Scorpio. And Black Moon Lilith and Uranus in an opposition during this time. Um, that could be where we're bringing ourselves back into the fray. Um, because truly, if you ask Black Moon Lilith, she just wants to run away from it all and say, like, hey, all right, man, you can have your world. I'll be at the edge of the ocean, like always, like I always have been. Um, and that opposition with Uranus, with all of that weight coming into Uranus from the personal planets, I can see that there may be an awakening of our traumas, our wounds, but like the darkest kind. Um, where this aspect is reflecting that we will be seeing stories of abuse possibly coming out into the open. And I know that people have been fighting for these things to come out into the open in all these different ways. And this arrangement, these aspects, we've got two mini trines and this opposition. It's creating a big aspect that it brings everything together. So everything is really working together. Because honestly, there is a bigger story playing out than most people realize. And, and that's why I said earlier to get a higher perspective on what's going on. Um, not just with uh, your personal life, but with your local environment and with bigger politics. Because without getting space and perspective, you're gonna get trampled on the ground, that ground game. You know, you're not even, unless you're a member of the military, you're not even a pawn. You don't even belong on the chessboard. So stay off of it. It's something that people fail to remember, I think, when they're thinking about life and chess and stuff. It's like, we're not even pawns. I'm not even going to let myself be that. I'm none of it. I don't belong on that chessboard. I'm not playing those games. I'm not playing, I'm watching. So it's something to keep in mind because as soon as you start playing their games, the chess players, it's like you're um the little specks of dust in between the actual pieces that are being played. And so don't get in the way. Don't become a statistic. Don't be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Climb that mountain and get some space. Man, what is it that you want to start for yourself? Because that's something that is really being supported right now with the personal planets being around this new moon. What do you want to start for yourself? What kind of new foundational thing? And even if it isn't something entirely new, what new element can you add to your life that adds to the evolution, the upward evolution of your life? As we all have an idea of what that upward evolution is. And being mindful of not giving away your power to politics, policies. That's not what we're here for as humans. So remembering the soul work, because the soul work require it really requires you to stay off of that chessboard playing the silly games. Because that's not why we were born and incarnated here. Um, it's up to other people who have agreed to be on that chessboard to understand why they're there. But if you're not already there, just leave it alone. Step back. Yeah. Because the next phase that's coming, the next luminary phase that's coming, we'll have a full moon in the axis of Aquarius and Leo. And it's going to be about our personal lives and our communal lives. This will be the illumination. Whereas right now, the illumination is really about our structures and our foundations. The earlier full moon that was in Cancer and Capricorn was really about leading us to think about our legacy, Because like what kind of legacy are you leaving behind by just playing another person's game? And a lot of us can feel that feeling when we think about working for a big corporation and not really getting a whole lot back for our a whole life of, you know, playing their games and working for them and stuff. But it's the same thing when you align yourself with one political tribe over another, and you dedicate so much time and energy to that. And like, what are you actually leaving behind when you do that? You know, I know it's really quite a morbid thing to say, but if you were to die tomorrow, what are you leaving behind from today? And that is absolutely what Capricorn wants you to think about. What is your legacy? How will the world remember you when you're gone? Is it gonna be um some weird and twisted story because you got involved somewhere where you shouldn't? What's funny for me? I've been watching that show. I know it's old by now. It's quite old by now, but it's that Stephen King book. Oh, what is it? 11, whatever, 63. It was when Kennedy was killed, and it's a story about a guy. It's James Franco. He time travels into the 1960s to try to stop the assassination of JFK because he believes, or has been led to believe, that it'd be a better world if that didn't happen. And um, what's interesting about that show and the illumination of what's going on right now is that you can kind of see that from the perspective of what's being portrayed on that show. It's like, well, there was like a civil war type thing going on then, people getting trapped into one tribe or another and turning on each other, and it's very, very, very weirdly familiar. And I know that this show was produced quite a few years ago, and it might be something fun to revisit for some people, um, to see just as a creative experiment. How similar are these themes that are going down now that from the 60s? Um, you know, it's interesting to me to look at history as though it's not, it didn't go down the way that we were told. And that's essentially what we can see starting, that's what we can see more and more of. And so yeah, the idea behind um, trying to understand what's going on can be really complicated right now. And yeah, it feels like for some of us, like myself, I wasn't alive in the 60s, and so I didn't know. I didn't know that it was so close to being a civil war. So close. And yeah, just seeing that there's patterns that get played out again and again. Um, we have a chance to as humans, we have a chance to really not be played so hard, you know, because if there was anything that I could say that I would love to encourage people to do is to look into investing in themselves. How are you going to invest in yourself, your self-worth? That's a huge thing right now because sometimes all of that chaotic noise around you is going to make you feel less worthy. It, it is one of the things that I've been thinking about with all this crap going on, that creative people are being pushed to the side. Uh, but creative people are the ones that create a beautiful world to live in and remind people that there still is beauty and that there is a higher purpose and meaning to being here, to being alive. Do you think that our purpose to being alive is to um, get so politically involved that we lose our own sense of self? Because how many times have you had to compromise your own sense of self, your own essence, in order to belong into a tribe? How many times do you have to betray to like wear that mask? Betray yourself. So yeah, that is something to consider. This new moon is a very good time to sit with that some kind of silence to get some kind of clarity because the only way that you're going to find clarity in this chaos is by turning off all the noise. And that's really what map, this astrology map of the new moon is trying to tell people that you'll get the most out of this new moon if you um, find a still point, a silent moment to reflect upon your own values and try to find some kind of truth that resides inside of you instead of externally. Because the other indication of this map is that all of the structures that you have depended on being there forever are being dissolved. Yes. And when Neptune moves into Aries, that three-eye atlas will also be moving into Cancer at the same time. That was one of the things that I meant to mention earlier is that it's almost a synchronous moment. I think it happens one day, let's see, the 25th, three-eye atlas goes into Cancer and starts shooting towards um, Jupiter more. And the next day, on the 26th, Neptune goes into Aries. I believe that there will be some clarity when Neptune goes into Aries because Neptune won't be as strong in Aries. Because, like, ultimately, right now, Neptune is dispositing this whole mess. Because Saturn is, because Saturn's in Pisces and Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So, and I believe that. Um, Where is it? So yeah, this synchronous, almost synchronous movement between a outer planet and an interstellar object. It indicates that they have a connection to one another. And, Neptune is really all about the spiritual realm. If you're not being, if you're not a part of like an illusion, um, then it is more about the spiritual side of everything. The things you can't hold in your hand, the things that possibly you will be taking with you when you die. That could be what Neptune is really about. And there with Saturn, Neptune's like laughing at Saturn's attempt at bringing anything through this death process. You don't get to take material things with you when you die. And everybody knows that. Um, but you do get to take your evolution, your spiritual evolution with you. And if you believe in multiple lives, then that's what brings you from one life to another, to another, to another, to another, is this spiritual thread that we're all weaving together. And remembering, trying to become conscious of remembering that it is a beautiful thing that we're here. Um, you know, I'm not saying that everybody's gonna get away with not being distracted at all, but trying to become aware of how distracted you are from making some really strong moves for yourself personally, independently. Um, you could be missing a big moment in time. This big, very, very strong mini trine here has got all these threads saying this is what we're doing. This is what people are experiencing. And yeah. So ultimately, yes, trying to get some quiet space. Um, just get space from the chaotic world. Because once everything has been dissolved, who builds the new world? Well, those of us who didn't lose their minds, those of us who didn't lose our physical bodies. Um, and, Capricorn also really talks about resilience. And so if you are, um, if you're letting all this chaos get to you, then it may not feel as resilient to it. Um, and really the answer is looking at your own legacy and what is it that you're going to build for yourself? What kind of house are you building for yourself in the new world? That's really what this new moon is describing, asking for, opening the door for. It's a portal, this new moon, for sure. It's definitely a portal. So we're moving into the age of Aquarius and we're wrapping stuff up and We're trying to become. Trying to become real again. Because with Saturn going through Pisces, there's been a lot of unreal shit happening. So, yeah. And I know I didn't really talk a lot about Jupiter, but Jupiter will be coming back into play again soon. It is still, it's just, there's like, Jupiter's taking a moment, a breath before Three-Eye Atlas comes and interacts with it. So this is coming up in the future. All right. I think I said everything that I was gonna say about this new moon. Uh, all right. Well, I hope that everybody has a nice new moon. I hope that people can find a moment to recover from everything that's coming into you. Is being showered with chaos. But it's not necessarily um it's not here to take us out. It's all of this chaos is not here to take humanity out. It's here to dissolve certain systems that are meant to be released. That's what the South Node in Virgo is all about, releasing certain systems. And we have this little indicator of the South Node being in Virgo and all of these big outer planet movements that are supporting that. And so it's time not to fear the dissolving of our systems and just to find an open mind and open curiosity and to walk through the portal that is opening right now for your own individualized future. That's really where the magic is going to be. So I hope everybody has a nice new moon, a nice couple weeks. I am here for any natal chart readings if that's what you're feeling called to. You can contact me at April the Star Witch at gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram as April the Star Witch. I am also on X sometimes. I mean, I'm there. Is April the Star Witch. And um, so if you are feeling called to contact me about a reading, then you can find me there. Um, but I will talk to everybody soon. I'll see you next time.